What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to The Real with Joseph Lamtman. Here I am now. Hope everybody's having a good day today. Yeah, man, it's been a pretty cool last couple days. I want to open up real quick and say a big thank you to Dennis Simsek, the anxiety guy, for allowing me to give me the opportunity to do the video on his page. Um, some of the feedback and the comments have been unbelievable and just in private. What he's doing really. I mean, I'm an example of it of changing somebody's life and really helping somebody. And so now that I'm in a position now to help other people like he helped me, and him and I are doing things together. I can't thank him enough. I appreciate it again, and uh, please share that video too. By the way, if you guys haven't seen it, it's on his page. It came out yesterday. It's my testimony using his program. And if you're somebody out there with anxiety right now, or um, know somebody who needs help, share that with them, because that'll help lead them to the first step of a program. But also, might relate to my story, or just get access to his page, and it'll really change them and help them. I think that's what a lot of people are needing. It's what they're missing, is somebody like Dennis. And so I just want to open up with that today. The topic for today, though, I sat around yesterday, today. I'm kind of looking around, even with that video, just kind of some of the feedback I'm getting, and just kind of what I see. That's kind of how I do a lot of these shows, just things that I see that's going on. And, the biggest thing I'm seeing right now with a lot of people in our society is a lot of resistance, and a lot of, just people aren't allowing themselves to be free. People say they want to be better, they want to heal, they want to have what's best for them, but they seem to not allow themselves to go after that. They hold themselves back. I think a lot of times people are their own worst enemies. And so I got a quick video today I'm gonna open up with, just to get it started, because I'm gonna go from a more of an anxiety standpoint. But this video that I'm about to play, which is by Dennis, the anxiety guy, he gives 5 quick points real quick about resistance. And the video is actually called "Why People Don't Want to Heal." And so, 5 key reasons you're hesitant to heal your anxiety. I think he's aiming towards anxiety here, but I think this could be used in a lot of different ways in life. If you don't have an anxiety, maybe you're fearful of something. Maybe your self confidence is low. It all kind of ties together, in my opinion. And so, what are the roadblocks in your mind that's holding you back? And so, I think this video, the 5 keys, are going to help open up the conversation. Then we got my man Mike in the back. He's going to come up and light it on fire like he always does, and give great feedback. And so let's get to it. Again, you can find this at his page, 5 key reasons you're hesitant to heal, subconscious mind clarity. So let's get to it.
Warriors, welcome, and thank you for joining me in this very important video. This subject isn't really talked about much in the anxiety world. And let me tell you something, it's everything. It's everything. Because people today know what to do. They do the self-care work. But the truth is that they don't get the results that they want. And when they do the self-care work, it seems like they're doing it with half a heart, not a full heart. And therefore, they don't get anything from it. Warriors, what I'm talking about today is the fear of healing. And you're probably going, Dennis, I don't have any fear of healing. And that's what I thought. But as I asked myself some deeper questions and I peeled the onion, I realized that there was some resistance, if not a ton of resistance, to change. There was also a tremendous amount of doubt in myself, And there were also other reasons that I'm going to bring to your attention today. So for me to say I'm excited would be an understatement, because I'm going to provide you with some insight that you may not currently have. And you're going to go, wow, that could be true. And once we peel that onion, life is going to become easier. The journey will not have as many roadblocks within it. Warrior, the first reason for why so many people out there are afraid of the healing journey is because they feel like they would lose their desire to be dependent on something or someone else. There is a desire there. There is a conditioning there. There is a programming there that says you can't do this alone. And the moment an anxiety sufferer feels like they've taken full responsibility for their anxiety, for where they are in their life right now, it fills them with fear. There is resistance there. We feel like dependence is something that we need in our lives, because advertising tells us this, marketing tells us this, schooling tells us this, parental upbringing tells us this. Does it tell it to us so that we consciously see it? Not necessarily, but we do feel at an unconscious level that if we are to become fully independent and fully responsible for our anxiety, that it's just not going to pan out the way we want it to. So is this a part of the resistance to healing? I believe it is. The second reason is because letting go comes with mental pairings that make us believe that we're going to lose out in some way. We're going to lose out in some way. That's what our minds are telling us. And this is a very interesting thing, because consciously, when someone thinks about their healing journey, they think about all the great things that are going to arise because they have healed. But the unconscious, the 90% of us, says something different. It says something different because anything that's been consistent in a person's life is also familiar, and that familiarity is also safe and secure. So we've created these mental pairings that say, ooh, if you do heal and become someone different, you're going to miss out on other things. You're going to let go. And because you're letting go, that could come with a tremendous amount of uncertainty, unknown. But let me tell you something. It's in our abilities to let go and embrace the unknown, the mysteries of life that bring with it the answers that we seek at the deepest levels.
No, I just want to stop. He's making a hell of a point, like always. But the first two things I see, okay, lose dependency, and then the mental pairings, we feel like we're going to lose. We're going to lose something. You feel like you're losing something. You're going to lose control of something. And I think the biggest thing for a lot of people is the fear of isolation. They feel isolated. The fear of feeling alone. I think it's funny. I heard something earlier today about when when COVID happened, everything shut down. People couldn't leave their homes. They had a lot of time to really sit and think, and a lot of people were maybe not in relationships or live by themselves. It was a very sense of loneliness. And I think you're seeing that now, kind of people are in fear of that ever happening again, in fear of that feeling. They hated that feeling, right? And so uh, what happens a lot of times they'll start doing things just to, you know, it's almost like what Kwame Brown says, the go along, get along game. They'll go along to get along, but they don't really believe in a lot of things they're doing or saying. And deep down inside, there's just a lot of pain, a lot of agony, and a lot of just confusion. I think that's what causes a lot of anxiety. It causes a lot of pain, and a lot of time the pain grows into hatred, right? And so now you're starting to see how the layers, when you start to unravel them, what's really going on. So let's get back to it.
Many anxiety sufferers do everything they can to think about every problem and to find the answer to every problem through thinking. And what this does is it only depletes them further and leaves the answer further away from them. Many times the answer is in fact within the experience. So you must experience the world of vulnerability, the world of uncertainty, to find the answers that you truly seek. The third reason for why so many people fear healing is because others may not understand or approve of their healing. Friends, acquaintances, family members, they all know you as a certain personality, don't they? Right? All of a sudden, you show up one day to dinner and you are not a victim. You are not helpless. You're not speaking about how difficult your day was or how difficult your day is going to be tomorrow. And then you feel like you have to rebuild your relationships all over again. Oh my goodness, that's going to take up a lot of time. I don't know if other people are going to stay as my friends and my close supporters. So again, there is uncertainty there in healing. Because as I mentioned, rebuilding relationships is something that comes with pain and not pleasure. But the truth is this: your true friends, your true supporters will be there with you when you're healing. And the people that aren't there with you, there may be some jealousy there. There may be an uncomfortable feeling there that is based around their own past traumas and things that they have to deal with first. So by you healing, you're giving other people permission to heal themselves. When you're not healing and you're stuck in fear, you're giving other people permission to fear as well.
Damn ads. Sorry about that.
This is a very important lesson for us. The fourth reason for why people are afraid of healing is because we unconsciously would feel a disconnect from one or both of our parental figures. Oh my goodness, how true this could be for someone. Is this a conscious recognition? No, it's not. Many times it's not. But unconsciously, we had two gods when we came to this world. It was mom and it was dad. And whether mom and dad were there for us or not there for us, we were still connected to them. Energetically, we were connected. And so we must understand that if mom has anxiety, or if dad is an over worrier, if mom thinks catastrophically, if dad lives in his own comfort zones, then guess what? We at an unconscious level feel like we must be the same way. And so the idea of separating from these parental figures unconsciously fears us.
I just want to stop quick to make a point on this because this is something I've experienced in my own life. Uh, I don't have a discount with my parents, but what I realized through this, the point I want to make is this is where generational anxiety comes into play, in my opinion, because a lot of times the habits that your grandparents had that were kind of negative, maybe they were hypochondriacs, they pass it down to your parents, and then your parents think it's normal, and those habits, and then you see that growing up, you think it's normal, and then that's what you become, and then now you have those habits too, and so, and that's just an example with anxiety. Like I said, for me, it was hypochondria at my family. Um, but the point he made, though, about you allowing to heal yourself is healing others, I've seen that in my own life. Me healing myself has helped my parents, in turn, it's also helped my parents as well. And so, and other family members around me and friends, and I mean, it's a chain effect. And so, uh, that's a point I want to make there about that because that's a very key point. When you talk about being aware, right? What is sit back and think to yourself one day by yourself and maybe write it down. Is what are some things, let's say for instance you're where I was with hypochondria. Maybe look around and wonder, gee, am I acting like dad? Am I acting like mom or whoever, right? And so write down those habits and you start to realize, oh, that is what they do. Now I see where I get that from. Because when I was 5 years old, I saw them act like that. So I thought it was normal. Right. And so, again, this is the awareness when it comes to what's going on around you. And we'll touch on this a little more later, but I just want to make that point too.
But the truth is that we have to understand that life is change. Everything changes. Everything evolves. And so we don't need to seek permission from mom or dad in order for us to heal. And guess what? We're doing mom and dad proud by healing ourselves. What an incredible shift in mindset. What an incredible amount of insight when we understand that we're not separating from them, but we are learning because of them. Fifth reason is because life would be too simple. Oh my God, Dennis, you're speaking to me about 11, 12 years ago. Life would be too simple if we healed, and it would conflict with our beliefs that life is a struggle and that punishment is inevitable. People believe that every single day they must experience a certain amount of self-punishment or punishment from others. They believe that as they go through their day, they must internally or externally struggle in some way. If they do not, they don't feel like they're actually living life. The struggle becomes the very thing that makes them feel alive. Can you believe that? The self-punishment is the very thing that makes them feel alive. And the moment they are met with inner peace, good health, and simplicity, they feel empty. But let me tell you something. It's within that emptiness where we grow the most. So our job today is to embrace that emptiness and to say, you know what? That feeling of emptiness and inner peace and good health isn't a bad thing. It's a good thing because that is my authentic self. Only then can I enjoy life fully. Only then can I see the fun in things rather than the threats in things. Only then can I give myself full permission to no longer be an anxiety sufferer, but to create a total shift in identity and personality. Warrior, listen. Life can be simple. Life can be peaceful. Life can be healthy. This is you. Struggle is not you. Pain is not you. Punishment is not you. We must relearn how to do things in a way that fits with our authentic selves way of doing things. So we wake up and ask ourselves, oh my goodness, how would my authentic self, my natural being, see this day? Not my artificial self, not the self that has been corrupted by the world, but my authentic self. That's where you're going. You no longer have to fear healing. You have everything you need to embrace this healing journey. We're going to do it together. Comment below.
Thank you to Dennis again. Another great video. But hold on, let me get back on camera. But guys, the biggest things I wrote down there when I was listening to that. Okay, I wrote down some words: isolation, losing out. This is fear of isolation, fear of losing out, fear of, I think with losing out, you feel the pressure of jealousy from people around you because you're doing well, and then the addiction to suffering, and all these things go together. And the biggest thing I see is, people are afraid to be who they really are, or people are afraid to be who they really want to be. And I think a lot of that is because the pressures of the world. You know, there's just a big spiritual battle going on right now, and there's a battle for your mind. If you're somebody out there maybe doesn't believe in God, or maybe you're an atheist, or you're on the fence about it. Maybe you think there is a God, or whatever, and that's fine. It's God gives you the choice. And this podcast here is a judgment-free podcast. But what I'm trying to make the point is, when you see a lot of the evil that goes on in our world, things that we would all consider evil, bad things, where do you think that stems from? I think people maybe lose sight of that sometimes. Do you think these things just happen? They don't. There's a battle for your mind. It starts up here. If I do something if I punch somebody in the face, it wasn't my fist that did it. It was started in my head, right? To get the thought. And so, there's a battle for your mind, but people don't, sit back and think that sometimes. And I think that's why I said earlier, you can be your worst enemy. And I think right now you're just seeing the pressures of the world really getting to people, and they're not. They're afraid to change. They're afraid of what the other side may look like because of those pressures. And those pressures don't have to be just through social media or whatever. It could be your own friends. It could be your own family. It could come from anywhere. I would say, for an example, a lot of times when you see couples who are, let's say, addicts together on drugs, they enable each other. Yeah, man, let's go out. Every night or whatever throughout the day, they're together, and they love each other, but they enable each other to do drugs. And a lot of times that goes to bad lifestyles. They don't have a job. Before you know it, he knocks her up. They're not responsible enough or financially ready to have a kid. And it just unravels out of control, right? And so, but I think a lot of times, like I said, they enable each other. But it should take one other person one of them to maybe say, hey, you know what? I need to maybe take a break from you or move on from you because this isn't working. And so, that's what it takes. It's got to take one of the, and I'm just using this as an example. Somebody in the relationship's got to say, okay, you know what? We're not good for each other. Or maybe we need to take a break for each other so we both get well. And that's just an example. But you see this a lot of times. And, I remember one time before I bring Mike up here, I was listening to Tony Evans one time, and he had talked about with singlehood, and again, I was talking to her about isolation, and I think a lot of times too, because I think relationships is a big key, in this conversation as well, because a lot of people will stay with somebody that they know that's really not good for them, or they really truly don't see themselves taking the next step beyond marriage, or to marriage, excuse me. And so, a lot of times with that, especially speaking to men, you're kind of holding that girl hostage in a way from moving on and living her life. And so, and not only holding her hostage, the person who God really has designed for her, or planned for her, that person's also not getting the wife that's supposed to be made for, that God, assigned to them. And so, and I hope that makes sense there. But my whole point is, we're afraid to let go and truly be who we really want to be. We enable each other, I think, a lot of times too. And so, and I think a lot, like I said, it's from the pressures of the world. And I think, you know what? That's not. I think it's the pressures of the world, but also, just people are afraid to truly be who they want to be. There's a lot of fear, and so I know I said a mouthful there. Mike, welcome to the reel again.
How's it going today, Joseph?
I'm doing good, but I know I said a mouthful there, but and this is a lot to unpack here today with the video. So, but I guess kind of what's your initial reaction to the video?
I think he's speaking a lot of truth in small tangent. He's got a really interesting accent. Where is he from?
He's from Canada.
Oh, yeah, that explains it. Right. But yeah, he said a lot in that video, and one of which, like, I think really kind of nails like human psychology, that we like get comfortable with how we react to things. And like, for example, it's kind of the same thing with like, what's your comfort food, or what do you do, to de-stress. Like, I said in a couple episodes back, I think it was the first time you invited me on, was like haunted houses and like horror movies and like scary stories. I was around that a lot when I was a kid, so I'm a weirdo. And like when I like want to like decompress or de-stress, I'll watch like a horror movie or read a horror book. Right. I got a mini library of just horror books, like Stephen King, Joe Hill, name it, Dean Koontz, H.P. Lovecraft. But yeah, so it's kind of like along those same lines. Like, you get comfortable with being, numb or depressed or anxious, and it's hard to break out of that, because like, I mean that's the same thing with like relationships or a job. Like, I was in car sales for 7 years. I mean, near the end there, I hated it, but like, I was comfortable. I was making enough to put food on the table and live comfortably, and right. But I dreaded going to work every day.
You're just getting by.
Yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, comfort is a good and bad thing. Like, once you get comfortable, you got to start being a little bit more self-aware, and whether the comfort is actually like beneficial for you or not.
Yeah, and I think I think you nailed it right there with being comfortable. And it's like you said, the addiction to suffering. I've been there. I know exactly what he's talking about. And for instance, with anxiety, in my experience, it was, I would keep provoking myself to the same habits that would, negatively affect me in the end. I'd feel let down, or I'd feel more anxious. In turn, I have more fear, and I get down on my hole. I get deeper into the hole.
Right.
It's like you're not helping yourself out. And so, it took till, and what I said in the video yesterday that came out on his page, when I said in that video, I got to a point where I said, what I'm doing is not working. There's got to be something else out there. I just had to take a chance at myself, really, to say, let me see what I can find. I was in the same cycle, doctor's appointments, Dr. Google.
Yep. We all have been there.
Prescription drugs and the whole thing, talk therapy nonstop. And, those things had a time and place initially. But
right,
in order for me to get to where I am now, where I'm going, it took me to be honest with myself, but also I just went online and just typed in anxiety, and that's who popped up. Right. It was that simple. And a lot of times, the answer we're looking for is right there in front of us.
Oh, yeah?
We're not as far away as you think we are.
Did your doctor ever tell you, because I've heard this a bunch of times, your doctor like specifically tells you, hey, if you think you have a problem, don't Google anything.
Don't Google anything.
Yeah.
They'll tell you, wait a minute, don't go on that. Don't go here.
Yeah. My neurologist told me that flat out, because I told you I have my white matter abnormality. And he was like, it could be super common. We just don't know. And he's like, but don't Google it, because like white matter abnormalities are usually like, oh, guess what, bro? You got like a year left.
Right.
So like, it's like, don't Google
if you're having a panic attack, you're having a heart attack.
Yeah, he's like, I took your brain scans to a board of neurologists, and we think you're fine. Chill out. Like, there was like 6 of us. We've all been to school for like 15 years, experts on the brain. Like, Google's just go tell you bad things.
Yeah, but Google is designed to the worst case scenario, which is to take you out of your home and to go see a doctor. I mean, it's basically what it is. It's to drive you insane.
Yeah. I love how every doctor like does that, but we do it anyway. Like every doctor is like, don't Google it, man. Just like you think it's bad. Just like we have my chart now. You can ask me. Like,
or here's my phone number. Just call my personal number if you have to. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
I
think. But again, Dr. Google is one of my bad habits. And
I mean, it's one of mine. Like my missus gets so upset at me. Like if I like, I'll be like messing with something like on me. I'll be like, I wonder what is that?
Right.
Bite, and then I'll just start like going down the rabbit hole, keep Googling things, and she's like, stop doing that.
Right. But I get, like you said though, it's a reaction. It's like I was saying earlier, for me, when I was younger, the way I would react to certain things I thought was normal. Yeah. I saw my authority figures react that way. And they didn't realize it was a negative thing until they saw me. And so, and then I started doing better, and then they started to realize, and it almost like more from the bottom back up.
Right.
And so, I think that's why also, like you said, surrounding yourself with, I think relationships is a big key here, but not just with a significant other, but also with friendships, family members, who you surround yourself with. I know, like for you, we did your first episode. You talked about the time, obviously, I don't mean to keep bringing up, but your father passed away. You got in a dark hole, and everybody's like, "Yo, you'll be fine. It's normal. Just keep doing all those things that really aren't good for you."
Right.
And it took somebody said to you, hey, you might want to like change. You might want to at least
back a little bit.
You might want to slow down for a minute and just really. So I guess kind of because you're somebody that's been there. That's why I wanted you to come on today. Right. Because it goes right with this. Is when you're somebody in that mindset, in that, and I've been there too, but in that kind of gray area, I guess you'd call it, you feel kind of like, which way do I go? I guess kind of what helped you to start really seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, I guess you could say.
Well, my best friend, his name's Justin. He's like 30 times more responsible than me. And, he's a prideful dude, but like that's like his one downfall. And I've known the dude since 6th grade. Like I've introduced him as my brother. Like every time I introduce him anywhere. Your parents actually just met him, funnily enough, and his wife. Okay. He's pretty much like my source of like, when I'm doing something really stupid. Or like when I'm in a bad place, like he's like, I guess for lack of a better term, a drill sergeant in my life. Like he's a military guy, like spent 4 years in the military, still in the reserves now. So
he gives you some of the same tactics they used on him in the military.
I think so. I mean, I don't know. He speaks very bluntly, very fairly, but we've known each other so long. He's more than welcome to do that. But
just a solid, real dude.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And he and my other best friend, Fred, took me to, I think it was an Applebee's. And they sat me down. And they basically like, dude, you got to stop. And they said it in a nice way, but that was basically the crux of the conversation.
The PG version.
PG version.
Yeah.
And no, I mean, he still has to do that. I apologize to him all the time. When I'm just like, here, I'm sorry that you got to have these conversations with me so much sometimes. I was like, I appreciate your willingness to do that, but yeah, I mean, just having like even one person that's willing to do that, for you, or even obviously, I mean, I didn't say her name, but my fiance Hannah helps so much in my day-to-day sanity. But support structures everything when you're in a gray area, even like and you got to understand how much of a cool thing that they're doing for you, because it's not easy. Because I've had to do it before, going up to someone you love and, being like, hey, I'm concerned about you. I'm worried. Like, I don't think what you're doing right now, cope, or, what you're doing is right. And I don't think it's healthy. And, I think it's making things worse. Like, that's hard for them to do. I don't know if it's hard for Justin to do. I think Justin has fun doing it. But for most people, it is it's a really hard thing to do, to the Bible, I think, uses the word admonish, means to lovingly discipline someone. And Paul does it a bunch to his disciples, like Timothy, Titus, those kind of guys. He admonishes them frequently, but it comes from a loving place. Hey, you're messing up, you're doing something bad. You gotta stop.
All right. Yeah, and I agree. And I think that's why, like I said, having people around you, my parents, they'll tell me, when I need to hear it still. I'm 22, but they'll always still be my parents, even till when I get older, more and more, they're always going to be there and guide me. You don't stop parenting when your kid turns 18.
Right.
You always, that's just not how it works. And, I try to do the same for my sister, but even, people younger than me, like my sister, she helps me in a lot of ways. She'll just tell me how point blank truth sometimes about a situation, how she feels.
Right.
She's pretty fearless, more fearless than I was at her age. And so, I think surrounding yourself people, but also you have to be able to take the criticism as well. I don't want to call it criticism. I think it's more just, if somebody's really trying to, at least for me, if I'm sitting down and telling somebody something like that, which I had before, I'm doing it out of love because I actually care about you. Yeah. I'm not trying to bring you down. I'm not trying to, but you got to be able to take it as well. You got to understand what the person's saying. And I think, a lot of that is the resistance, like he talks about. You're afraid of, what are you really afraid to move on from? That's why I point out this, because when you look around what's going on right now, just a lot of things happening, you see a lot of people are losing their damn minds because they're afraid to go against the grain. They're afraid to go against what culture says, or what is deemed as culture, or what is deemed as, I guess, the term woke. Although I don't know what woke is, because I feel like that can be used in different areas. Right. I think it's more of a political thing now.
At this point, it's become that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't even like to use that word because I'm like, well, what happened to just being truthful with each other?
Right.
So, I guess I want to ask, how did you take that when, and like you said, your fiance, when Justin sat you down at Applebee's and they had that conversation?
Right.
Initially, how did you feel? And how did it carry on, like the days after, whatever? Long it took.
I'll admit I didn't take it very well at the time, but after letting it sink in, actually thinking about it, I really got better. And that another thing I wanted to touch on too is you gotta taking criticism is one thing, but one thing I really struggle with, at least with advice, I'll listen to advice. I'll be like, you know what, you're right. I need to improve in A, B, and C in my life. But what I'm very bad at is applying that advice. I'll take it. I'll realize the problem. I'll take the advice, and then my best friend unfortunately had this conversation with me kind of recently where I'll take the advice and I'll suck at applying it because I am naturally a creature of comfort. I've said that a million times before. And I'm lazy. I've said that a million times before. So I'll procrastinate on applying it even though I'll know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, oh, all I got to do is, build the house. And like, I know how to build the house, but like, I don't.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah.
all the things to do and then you don't do it. So that's something that I need to work on personally that I know is a fault.
Well, I think it's something we all struggle with too. I mean,
Right.
it's kind of like the walk of a Christian, really. God tells us the blueprint, but sometimes we just forget about it. We read the word, but then it's like with faith. Faith is the act of things not seen, and having trust in the things not seen. That's what
Right.
God tells us to do, but it's not easy. I think that's a lot of it too. That's the resistance. We're afraid to see what the other side looks like.
Right.
We're afraid to, what does change actually mean? It's like you said, change might make you think life's too simple, that it, man, it's going a lot easier, not too easy for me.
Right.
I know I don't really have a lot
What's
of anxiety.
going on here?
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people get depressed too. It's like that gray area, and then a lot of people, they get in that, that gray area, and I've been there, and you revert right back to what you always felt is comfortable. And so I guess kind of when you started to sit and realize that, did you get in like maybe a little funk periodically? Maybe you're like, because you're starting to change, you're starting to become someone probably complete opposite of who you were. And so I guess kind of how did you have those like mental blocks, those like doubt, I guess you could say, or that want to draw you back to kind of how did you get through that?
A lot of prayer, a lot of talking, again, like more conversations with people you love, because like it's not like an immediate thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You learn the problem, what you have to do to fix it, but it's an ongoing thing to actually try and improve yourself and fix the problem. And like with anything, like even with your walk with Christ or God or what have you, you're going to stumble and fall. And that's like, trying to change your life around. Same thing. Like you're going to stumble and fall trying to change for the better. And it's just an ongoing process of, wanting to better yourself and trying to better yourself. But yeah, no, I stumbled a bunch. Hell, I still do. Biggest thing is like when I'll get into a funk, like I won't want to clean anything or do anything. Like I'll just want to be like, it's so much easier if I just do nothing for the day, or I don't want to go outside.
You don't want to talk to anybody, you just want to sit and just
exist.
Chill.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's really what I revert to, and then it, someone's got to slap me across the face with words to actually like get me back on the right track. But like and I still have to work on that. I'm good at taking the advice, and my best friend said something very, very, very smart. He said, at least to me, he goes, "You are not afraid of conflict." He goes, "You have, that's a very common misconception." He goes, "You dealt with conflict. Your job was conflict for 7 years. That was your job, was conflict." And then he goes, "But you're just comfortable. You're lazy. You don't like being uncomfortable." He goes, "If it's conflicting, you can do it as long as you're comfortable with it." And I was like, "Damn, you're right."
Makes sense.
I was just like sitting there in the chair in the attic drinking Modelo. Oh, he just got married and he's still got like 3 cases of beer left over. Yeah. He bought too much beer. That's a nice problem to have, but
your night's going every night till it finishes up.
But I have been just listening to him and taking that. You just gotta sit there and be like, yeah, man, I really gotta get out of the funk. And it's important to have someone like that who's willing to get you out of the funk continuously.
Yeah, if you got somebody around you who just kisses your ass all the time, and everything's just great. You enable each other. It's like I said earlier with relationships now. Even with couples, they enable each other. They're not really healthy relationships. And you see a lot of people, they'll just stay with somebody just because they don't feel like they can live without somebody else. They can't. And I would say, well, maybe that's your problem. If you're not good with yourself first, then how are you able to manage a relationship for a long period? I don't think you can. And it's like I wrote down earlier, and I was thinking about this, and this is what popped in my head, and I said it was, people won't do for themselves what they'll do for other people. You know,
Right.
I sat around for a while. I learned so much about anxiety, and I could sit and tell somebody all day long about, hey, this is what this is, this is what that is. The symptoms that their message, and I could say all that all day long.
It's the old adage about following your own advice, right?
Following your own advice. That's exactly what I was getting to. Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. And following your own advice, and a lot of times, that may result in you may lose some relationships. You may, or relationships may not be as strong as they used to be. And I've experienced it. We probably all experienced that. And so, but along the way, if you're becoming freer for yourself and your walk with Christ is growing through that, which is I've experienced and you experienced, and I would say remember, look how they treated Jesus.
Right.
Look how they treated him. And so, would you rather do what God wants you to do, or would you rather do what the world wants you to do? Because the world tells you, hey, this is making you comfortable, and it's almost like the point I'm getting at here is it's crazy when you look back and you think of just look at all the how the enemy has really manipulated people in a lot of ways with all these different tools with social media, with music, certain
materialism.
I mean, all these things make us feel good. And then when it stops and it gets taken away from us, or we want to get away from it, it's so hard because we feel like it's comfortable. But it's really a lot of times what's really comfortable, true meaning of peace is what we think is not.
Right.
And so, you got anything to add there?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head with people think like, oh, if I have enough money, like I'll be comfortable, and that's what comfort is.
Mm-hmm.
It's the white picket fence, big house, but if you're not involving God in your life, what is it for? That common misconception that and most Christians get wrong is the whole like, oh, money is the root of all evil. Bible actually doesn't say that. It says
the
love of money is the root of all evil.
Mm-hmm.
So because God is, if you serve him well, like he wants you to do well, like he wants you to like attribute wealth. He wants you to live comfortably, but he also wants you to, be uncomfortable at times and get through it. And it kind of hits on what we talked about before, he's going to put you in situations to test you, and he wants you to get through it on the other side. And if you do it and learn from it and, all that good stuff, he'll reward you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I said it last week, but it keeps harkening back to the Bible passage where it's like, it's about anxiety. It's like, do not be anxious. I mean, tomorrow will worry for itself. Look at the birds.
Don't be anxious about anything for tomorrow. Tomorrow worry about itself. Don't be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow
will worry about itself. Yeah, something
focus on today.
Yeah, and then he goes on to say, look at the birds of the air. They don't sow, they don't reap, they don't live in houses, and yet the Lord takes care of them. You think he cares for the birds more than you?
Right.
So even God, he's like, here, man, I'm gonna take care of you. Either way. And even if things don't work out, and even if you're dealing with something really serious and things aren't working out in your favor, this world's passing us by. As Christians, we're looking to eternity.
Right.
If I'm lucky, I'll be here 85 years. Heaven, I'll be there forever.
Actually, that is Matthew 6:34.
Yes.
The verse you were referring to. I'm gonna pull it up here and put it on the screen so people can see it. But yeah, I mean that's a great point. I think just being present too. Like we talked about before, just feeling present. I think that this verse, so when I read this, it doesn't get more present than this. So let me get this on the screen here. Hold on 1 second. Alrighty. Oh yeah, did you like the Tom Brady ad too, right in the middle of the video? That was nice. Way to go, Tom. Got your ad in on my podcast. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so yeah. Matthew 6:34. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Staying present. That's basically Jesus being like, take it easy, man, but take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, let me get that up screen there because I got some ads popping up. But
that was the Gen Z definition, just for all the Gen Zers that watch.
Yeah,
take it easy, man, but
it's
take
a simpler way for you.
Gen Z translation. That's a better word.
Yeah.
Translation.
No,
That's what
absolutely.
I'm gonna do now. That's what I'm gonna write. I'm gonna write a version of the Bible specifically for Gen Z.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, if it works, why not?
Yeah. Jesus is gonna be able to be like dead ass God, like dead ass Father. I'm gonna have to do this. No cap.
Oh gosh. I don't think a lot of the older folks would like that. They'd be like, "What the hell is this?
Are
shit
you dead ass Father?"
Yeah, they'd have to cuss it. What's going on? What's this shit? They'd be called up.
No cap, for real, for real.
Yeah.
This is bussin' respectfully at the Last Supper. I'm really glad God has a sense of humor. I'm really glad he has one.
Oh man. I'm gonna be honest. I really hope that doesn't happen. I don't. I wouldn't want to see that myself. It would be after a while. I'd start cringing. I'm like, oh, I'd be sitting like, oh.
The point would be for cringe. Jesus would be throwing around words like, "Oh man, that's based." What he's like looking at, like certain things. Don't be cringe, Peter. You're gonna like before the rooster crows 3 times. You're gonna be extra cringe. You're gonna deny me.
You'll be busting on your way down. Busted. Yeah. Oh gosh.
Jeez. That's funny. That could be a bit.
It could be. I'm surprised nobody's done that. Well, I'm sure there has been. You got people all the time that like to make their own translations, but actually, that's a great point there. I guess kind of where I was heading towards. Good transition
Really?
there. But yeah. I guess kind of back to like I said, people are afraid to be who they really are or who they want to be. And we talk about the pressures of the world. We talk about that a lot. But I guess kind of I've seen this going on a lot lately. I feel like it's kind of, in some ways, it's people who are non-believers. It's confusing them more, but also the people who are saying it. These people they say they're Christians. And I'm not saying they are. They aren't. But they'll take we know what the word says. It's right there in front of us.
Right.
We know what the law says. We know what the Bible says about certain things.
Right.
But we see a lot of these preachers now, they're taking it and they're almost twisting it in a way to benefit themselves. It's almost like taking God's word and rewriting it into a worldly, you're putting the world and God together. What I mean by worldly is things that don't include God. So, and they're trying to mesh it together. And a lot of times they'll say, well, we're trying to reach the audience. We're trying to make people feel home and comfortable and so forth. And I'm thinking, well, I think it's actually confusing people even more because it's actually misleading people more and more. And a lot of times you're seeing a lot of blasphemy associated with this.
Right.
And I guess kind of what's your thoughts when you look out nowadays? You're seeing more people, especially non-believers around our age group, they're becoming more and more confused. And you have these people that are trying to make the church kind of like this. I'm not saying a church should be welcoming and, it's the Lord's, but the church should be based on solely about God. If you had the true foundation, the blood of Christ in the church, everything else should take care of itself in terms of welcoming and, and saving souls.
Absolutely. And I think, where church has gone and what it's doing and, it harkens back in my old church I used to go to, I think did a really good job. And it wasn't perfect. No church is, because church is created by man. What Jesus Christ wanted and what he foresaw was a body of Christ, Christians coming together and worshiping together in an intimate setting. Early Christians met in catacombs because, they were being persecuted and in jail and thrown to lions and all those other horrid things. So they met in catacombs and intimate settings just to spread the word of God. And that's Christ obviously doesn't want us getting thrown to lions. We can help it. But, just showing that the lengths they would go to just to be around each other and spread the word and love God. And it's gotten to this point where church is almost an event. Like it's meant to, lift up the church, and churches aren't doing a good job at lifting up the word of God as much anymore. I'm not saying all churches. I'm not saying this is a universal problem, but there's they're called fundamentalist churches. Fundamentalist churches that are trying to be inoffensive and try and be, feel good. Right. Yeah. And they try and like lift up the church, come to our church, get new members. That's what they're about. Retention. And I don't think that's unimportant. I think, it's important for, especially if you have somebody who's a convert to Christianity and just starting their walk with the Lord, it's important to involve yourselves in them, in their life, and, help them understand the word of God, go through it, read it, disciple them. And most churches don't even do like one-on-one discipleships anymore. And I think that's super, super unfortunate, because that's something that, even Christ did. He had 12 disciples, like.
When you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking, I just wrote something down because I want to lose. I would ask a lot of pastors too, or if you're somebody, the new thing now is like on TikTok or at these people, such people around our age group, they're Christians. They say they're Christians. They're believers. And so they're trying to minister to people through social media, right? Or they put out these videos and sounds great.
Right.
But a lot of them, I'm asking, I think with these pastors, these churches, like you're talking about this newer age stuff, who's actually growing? Is the people in the pew, or the people that you should be putting your all into, are they growing? Or are you benefiting the most? Are you growing personally? What I mean by that is with social media, with I might get a couple million likes and retweets if I go on there and say all the right things. It's social, and it's still socially acceptable.
That's a big thing. And then oh man, I had it. I think I just lost my train of thought. See, you're smart. You have a notebook. But another big thing that I've seen is an issue, is especially with like churches, is they try and make, the word of God, which we believe, obviously the Bible, to be wholly true, like the truth, and this can be about anything, not just the Bible, isn't always inoffensive. The truth can be hurtful. The truth can be offensive. If I tell somebody that is a non-believer or of a different faith, saying, hey, the only way to get to heaven is through Jesus Christ, the Son of God, that can be an offensive statement to a lot of people. And but we believe that to be the truth. And that's just one example, but there's a ton of things, like, the Bible is wholly true, and like pastors and churches are trying to like you said, put a spin on it, where sometimes you're like, try and like work it out so it like fits for everybody. But the Bible's not always gonna be happy-go-lucky. Like sometimes like with Job, or like Paul, or something, like any of these like prophets or apostles, like the truth that he was giving out sometimes was offensive, hurtful. But
absolutely,
they needed to hear it.
Yeah, and I think there's like a healthy balance with that. I think it's a healthy balance in terms of, hey, this is, like when I went to church growing up, I was always taught sometimes it's good to feel conviction when you're at church.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been doing some things lately. The pastor's preaching on it. He's reminding me, and I feel a little convicted. That's not the pastor's doing his job, really. It's the Holy Spirit. He's working through to get to you. And so, but I think also there's a healthy balance of, you don't want to shame people and disown them. We see that a lot too, where it's almost like the church has lost its common ground. It used to be, there's not that common ground anymore. It's we're either really soft or really light and everything's just a free for all, or we're very hardcore, and if you don't do what we say, you're out of here. And so I guess kind of we lost the common ground with that. I think it's confusing people even more. It's just more confusion. It's more divide. It's more, if you want to see what's going on in the country, just look at what's going on with church. With spiritually, what's going on. And that'll say a lot of it.
Yeah.
When
It's
you have a country that turns its back on God, it doesn't really go well.
right. And even still, like America, as bad as it's getting, America is still one of the most Christian countries in the world. I think we're at close to 80%. The only other country that's has a higher number is Italy, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's weird, and this is a topic that in my old church we discussed a lot, was like the fundamentalism of churches. But it was so refreshing in my old church, and there are other places like it that do like a home church system, or like more intimate, that aren't like huge mega churches that are sprawling, where like there's so much between you and the pastor, or you and like church workers. It's refreshing to see that there are more churches popping up that are like, here, this isn't religion. This is the truth. This is the word of God. This is Christ. This Christ wants a personal relationship with you. He wants you to get involved. He doesn't want you to just go to church, listen to the sermon, be like, okay, cool, and then like go home and do whatever. Like the old school way of going to churches, like, oh, I'm going to go to church every Sunday because that's what I have to do.
Yeah, you go to church, you dress up nice,
and that's it.
You go to the Lord's house, and then you go out to eat after, and you go home watch football.
Yeah.
So pretty much.
I mean, I would go home and watch football after church.
Oh, absolutely. I would too.
Yeah.
Hell, you know what? We got to skip lunch today. We got to pick up the food. We got to get our asses home.
Right.
Or butts home. If I left church, I probably shouldn't be saying that, but
just means donkey.
Yeah, whatever. Well, we got to get home and watch the game, but and yeah, I like what you said there. I think too, the last layer, I think, kind of with the whole discussion today, resistance, and just we could really unpack that a lot, even to a spiritual level. Now, I think also going back to the main point, or one of the, when he gave his 5 keys earlier, a lot of it was, you might feel isolated at times. You might feel a little lost or confused when you first start moving on and helping yourself. But, what I would say is, I lost my train of thought too. Wow.
Yeah, it happens.
I should have wrote it down. I got a notebook right in front of me. No, what I was saying is, you said something about okay, feeling isolated. Going back to that main point, you might end up some places you never thought you would be. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Because, when I was 15 years old, I had a plan. I was going to go to high school. I was going to play all sports I could play or I liked. I was going to find a girl and start dating her. I was going to do all these great things. And the complete opposite happened. when I got to the beginning of my sophomore year, it was the complete opposite. It came out of nowhere. It happened just like that. I mean, it happened fast. And before you know it, 1 week I'm sitting there in school, everything, I'm kind of doing what I was doing. And then before you know it, I'm at home. I'm doing online schooling. I'm not really talking to a lot of people.
Right.
And over time, and then months later, I got to a place where I wouldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't leave the house. I mean, I'm not doing anything now. I'm doing the complete opposite of what I planned. But it led me to where I am now. My anxiety led me to do some things I never thought I'd be on a bike at 12:30 at night, in 2 foot of snow, and it was like -20 wind chill. It was crazy in the middle of January. All just to try to push myself. I couldn't, around that time, I was so into, was so fed up with the anxiety. I was pushing myself too hard. I was getting too into results. My intention was well, but, and I talk about this in the video that came out yesterday, I had to get to a point where I realized I needed a real structure, a real plan. Yes, I wanted to heal, but I needed a real plan in place. I was too focused on results at that time, but anxiety led me to do some crazy things, and I tell people some of the things that led me to do, like that, for instance, to be on a bike at 12:30 at night in the middle of winter. And they're like, what the hell are you thinking? I'm like, I don't know. That's what it led me to do. I was, I had to, that's what helped me feel better when I went to sleep that night. That's all it was. I was trying to push myself to go to
Right.
certain distances on the bike, try to, I wanted to be free, but I was looking to the wrong ways in some ways. I was trying to handle it all on my own. But, that's kind of what I was saying. You might it might lead you to some places you never thought you would go to. That's not a bad thing,
No. No, it's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah. And so, you got anything else you want to add there, or you got anything else, or
I think you.
I think we unpacked that pretty well.
Yeah.
We unpacked the topic pretty well, but yeah. Trying to think. No, there was a story. I gotta say this real quick. There was a story. I don't know why I thought of this. It might not have anything to do with what we're talking about, but
that's fine.
When I was going through that period, I was 16 years old. I think I was 16. Yeah. And so I'm going through it still. I'm slowly getting out more. And this one day, I'm sitting there at my old house. I lived in a corner house in a real busier city block neighborhood. And so I'm sitting there one day. I'm outside with my old dog who passed away. Eli, he's passed on now. He's older. And I'm outside with Eli, and we're outside at lunchtime. He's using the bathroom, whatever. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, here comes this big dog. And it's loose. Big, mean dog, too.
Oh.
And this dog just comes flying out of nowhere. And I could tell it's a little aggressive. And I'm okay. So I got my dog and threw him in the house immediately, shut the door. But this dog would not leave my front porch or my back porch. It just would not leave. So I'm like, I got to do something. I got to get this, I can't have this dog sit here on my porch all day. That's kind of aggressive a little bit. So I'm kind of like keeping a distance, like, hey, I'm talking to it, negotiate with it, like, settle down.
Good boy.
Settle down. And so eventually this dog just starts running all over the place. But it was running. There was people walking by. It was a busier city block. It was during. You had a lot of people walking by, joggers, whatnot.
Right.
And it was kind of like being mean to them. I'm afraid it's gonna, what if a kid walks by and attacks a kid? So that was my instinct. I'm like, okay, so I gotta stop this dog. Let me just call the non-emergency and see if they'll just come pick it up, because I don't know whose dog. Nobody was coming to look for it.
Right.
And so, but I gotta, I'm thinking about the kids. We had a lot of kids around there.
Yeah.
And so this dog takes off, and here I am like an idiot. I go after it. I'm running down 3 blocks. First, it stops at this one kid. He was probably about 18 years old. And I told him I'm on the phone with the police. I have telling him, give him my location, where I am. And, as I give him the location, I tell the kid the dog was doing really well with this guy. Like, it was calmer. And once I told him the police were coming, he just took off. And so, I don't know, he must have had a warrant or something. Something was off with him. As soon as I told him the cops are coming, he took off. I'm like, well, there goes that guy. Thanks a lot, asshole. And so here I am. I'm still going after the dog. And then I look over. There's 2 cop cars right here on my right. I'm like, oh, maybe. And then I look in the back. They're back there at some house doing a domestic. And I'm like, well, can't go ask them. And so the dog takes off again, and I'm chasing. I'm like, we're on 3 blocks away now on the other side of another street. And these 2 older ladies are walking down the road, and they're walking their dogs, and they stopped it. And the dog was doing well with this one lady. And so now I'm sitting here, and I got to stay with the dog because I'm the one that called. And I'm like, okay, we're at the corner right here of 11th and 2nd. That's where we were. And so here I am with a dog, 3 dogs rather, that I don't know, and 2 older ladies I don't know. And I'm just sitting here on the corner, and we're just like looking around at each other. And those 2 are sitting there chain smoking nonstop. They're just F this, F that, F every, And then this one lady, for some reason, she thought it was her neighbor's dog. So she calls her husband Charlie. And she's like, let me call Charlie. And I'd never heard somebody degrade their husband. I mean, you would have thought they were like divorced, and he like took all the money, the house, and said F you. I mean, and I'm like, you're married to this? She's like, yeah, it's my husband. She calls this guy. She's like, get your ass down here, you fat. They called him fat F, like every name in the book, right? And so I'm sitting there, we're on the corner. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm just sitting like, please send the police, hurry up.
Yeah, the police.
They're taking their good old time because they have to send the canine special card. I'm like, so we got to wait a little longer. So I'm sitting here, and here comes Charlie over the hill in this big van. And as soon as Charlie comes over the hill, the lady just looks at him And she glances up. We all look. She's like, "Oh, look, there's Charlie's fat ass." Like, just like
Oh
that.
my God.
And I'm like, "Really? That's your husband?" And he comes out. He gets out of the car. He's got no shoes, no socks on. Just stumbles out of the car. Here he comes. So he's like, "Oh, that dog." She tells him to get his, F this out of here. And she's cussing. I mean, this lady was just degrading her husband. She was calling him every name in the book, even mumbling it under her breath while she's smoking. I'm looking at her. She's like this. And then she looks at me. As soon as he's getting ready to leave, she told him, "Get the F out of here." Just laughed.
Oh my God.
She looks at me and she's like, "You got a gun?" And I'm like, "What?" And her friend looks at me and she goes, "She's talking about him, not the dog." I'm thinking, "Oh, that makes me feel so much better. I'm stuck in the corner with some old lady now that wants a gun." But this is the crazy shit that anxiety, my journey led me. That got me, because if I was still in school, I'd probably been at practice that day. I wouldn't have been at home. But here I am now. I'm stuck on a corner with 2 older ladies and 3 dogs. I don't know who the hell these people. Charlie shows up. He's getting cussed out by his wife. The cop takes a sweet old time. The cop showed up. I just ran over and said, "Thank you for coming. Here you go. Have a nice day." I just got the hell out of there. I mean, I just booked it. But again, I was using that. I thought of that story because I always think of that as just these other weird predicaments you never thought you'd be in.
Right.
And that's where my anxiety journey led me, is to that day. Because if I was still in school, I'd probably have been in practice that day. I wouldn't have been on that corner.
Right.
But it is what it is. I just wanted to use that example.
That's a great example. That's a great.
Kind of funny too. I can't say everything that lady said. I mean, as soon as that guy got over, as soon as his car came up over, where Sackett is, it's like the little hill you go up right there, 12th.
Mm-hmm.
And he came over that hill, and that's what she said. She's like, "Oh, look, there's Charlie's fat ass," real loud. And then he gets out of the car, and she's like, just degrading this guy. I mean, calling him every name in the book. I'm just sitting there like this. I'm like 16. I'm just sitting there like this. And I'm just looking, and then "You got a gun?" And I'm like, "Oh, she's talking about him, not the dog." I'm like, "Makes me feel so much better. You want to shoot your husband right here, right?" Like, really?
Poor Charlie, man.
Poor Charlie. Yeah. Thoughts of Charlie. I've been thinking about Charlie ever since. Periodically I'll think, I wonder what happened to that poor bastard. He got
I hope Charlie's okay.
The poor bastard. He got disintegrated by his wife. I hope he's doing all right. But I don't know. But I know you've seen a lot of wild things too in the car business. But
oh, you have no idea. Yeah.
I've heard some of them because you worked with my dad. But
yeah,
just can't imagine the day to day. It's just.
What's your favorite one that you heard from your dad?
Favorite one.
There's one that sticks out.
I've been there a couple times and seen some incidents happen. Like my dad was a salesman. He would come in on Sundays sometimes to deliver a vehicle.
Yeah.
And he would bring me in with him. I would sit behind the desk with Dan and Chad and just hang out and sit back there and bullshit, eat tacos from or eat food and whatever.
Tacos.
Yeah, I mean, you always go to Taco Bell for some reason. We'd be back there bullshitting, and I'd be back there like 10 years old. Like I was on the joint, on the computer and stuff. But I remember one incident when they were building the new building that they're in now at the old place. They were in trailers. And so one day I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden they had the greeter was out front in the front of the trailer. This daughter and her wife, her daughter and mom came in to buy a car. And I don't know what happened. Somebody said something to somebody, and all I saw, I just remember looking over and hearing all this screaming, and this mom just throws the greeter off the steps, like just
assaulted someone.
Yeah, and then the cops came. But the best part though was when the cops came, they're escorting the mom and the daughter through the dealership. And all I hear is all the guys going, "White trash, white trash." They were saying, calling them white trash. All you heard was they were like this, like working. They're like, "White trash, white trash." That's what they kept saying. And they're like looking around, who said that? And the cops were like, just keep going to the road. They had to go interview him. It was crazy. But I've seen some incidents there. That
one's pretty good. My favorite one is one of my favorite ones that sticks out to me is this dude comes in and he says that after Chad came back from an appraisal that he stole his front plate. And Chad's looking at him like confused, like, even if I stole a plate, why would I steal the front one? The back one is the important one. And like the dude called the cops, and like the cops showed up and got the video, and like they ended up fining the dude because they called the cops for no reason or something. Like it was this whole stupid thing. That one sticks out to me, but I've had some personal ones where it's always fun. Like when customers got mad at me, I just get sarcastic with them.
Right, that's all I think you could do.
Yeah, so they'd just be like, "Oh, I can't believe you would do it, waste my time," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you couldn't afford it." That was my favorite one because that would always
see
upset
a lot of
me.
my story because my dad sat right next to Dan. We
Yeah.
know how Dan was,
Oh
especially
god,
when he got his sound effects on his computer. I mean, this guy, he'd be sitting there on a Fiat call, hitting the toilet button,
yeah,
like in the middle of the conference call of Fiat. I mean, this is corporate America. Dan's got his thing on. You just hear the toilet flushing on the computer.
yeah, that one's good.
That one, I mean, just little but it was like the little things like that over time. You just like, but the bigger stories though. Like I remember, obviously I wasn't there, but I remember I heard a story one time. This guy, you might have been there. This dude went to the bathroom one day at the old place, and this guy shit all over the place. Like it was like he just opened up his ass and it just shot out everywhere.
Yeah,
like it's
I remember that.
Yeah, and the guy's calling the front. He calls the front desk, I believe. It says, "Hey, like he had to call him like, hey, because it was all over his clothes. It was all over the wall. It was nasty." And
I don't even know how it happens, but yeah.
Yeah, and he calls the front desk like, "Help, help!" Like, "I need help. I'm in the shitter." Like, "Help! I'm in the stall. I just shit all over the place. Like, I need." And they like they took some pants. They're like, "Get out of here! Like, get your ass out of here!" Like, "Put these on and get out." That was crazy. It just calls the front desk, "Help."
I mean, what else was the guy gonna do? I mean, I feel bad for him. I do remember that though. I remember hearing about it because I think it happened on like a Tuesday, and I had that day off. But
I remember hearing about it. But before you went there, it was called the Wild Wild. Like when my dad first started there in 2007, even before that, the crew they had then, the guys they had it was unbelievable. I just remember as a little kid, my dad coming home every night, and it was like something new every day. Like and he'd sit there and tell us because he couldn't stop thinking about it. Once you see something funny and crazy, that's all you think about the rest of the day or week.
Right.
But when when he started working there, it was some of the shit that I mean, it was unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
You're just sitting there like, how are these guys selling this many cars with all the stuff going on? Like, these guys are crazy.
Yeah, I wish I could have worked in that car business because it just sounded more fun, less regulated, no phone calls. The up bus was constant, but yeah, I don't miss the car business overall, though. For sure.
I don't blame you. Yeah, it's not for everybody long term. It's a drag, man. It's a grind. It's a lot of hours and a lot of just mental, like you said earlier. It's a lot of conflict. Yeah, it's a constant conflict. I mean, but yeah, man, I think we could do a whole show just based on stories. Really, we could bring certain people up here. That'd be like that's a whole show's worth of topics right there. Just the crazy things you see. But yeah, man. But I guess before we get out of here, because last time we talked about the drafts, I guess we'll hit on it real quick. The Cavs took was it Ochai
Jogbo.
Jogbo. I don't want to, or Jobby, I think I don't want to botch his name, but I'm cool with the pick. I'll tell you. You go first. I'll tell you. I know what the pick says to me, but I'll let you go.
I liked the pick. I thought it was the best player available at 14. He's a little bit older than what the Cavs usually. Yeah, he's a little bit older than the Cavs usually draft. He's a little bit more of like a pure scoring wing, which he could play small forward or shooting guard. I think he's gonna kind of take a Coro spot that's what I foresee, because I know the news came out either yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday that we extended an offer to Colin Sexton, making him a restricted free agent. Yeah, right. Well, now he's restricted, so he can't search for teams or whatever. I don't know how that necessarily works, but I like the pick. I liked all of our picks. I think it's funny how we got Isaiah Mobley along with Evan. Now
He's good too. That dude can play.
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard he's pretty good.
I watched it. He's pretty damn good.
He'll be a solid 6-man for sure.
Yeah, I like him. I think he reminds me of Larry Nance Jr.
Yeah, he's like
but
a
a
good
better
defensive
shooter,
guy. Yeah,
which is a
bigger.
good player. I mean, Larry Nance was valuable in that when the system they run, he was very effective in it. I
Right.
thought he's pretty good here. No, I like it, but what it says to me is when you draft a guy, because like the kid from St. V was there, Malachi Branham,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I thought that's who they're going to take. I was like, if he's there, I don't see them passing on it. But there was a lot of people they didn't think Oshai would be there at 14, but he fell to 14, and so I think that guy is more ready for a win now situation. When you look at him, there's not a whole lot more. I mean, I still think he can grow a lot more, but he's pretty developing. He's 22 years old. He's
Right.
went through the whole college scene. But I think the thing you got to keep an eye on, and Brian Windhorst said it again, and it just keeps popping up. What they do this summer, it looks like it's heading to a big summer next year with the cap. We all know why, but that's the kind of guy you add. Is a guy that can shoot, go out defend,
Right.
he's ready now. You know, it makes sense. It kind of tells you what they're thinking, though, in a lot of ways. I think because
He was at Kevin Love's wedding a couple days ago.
was he there?
Yeah, he was like one of the groomsmen, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, you're talking about him. I thought the rookie was there. Like the rookie was a
No,
groomsman?
LeBron James. LeBron James.
Oh yeah. I saw that. The whole team was there. The old guys too.
Oh
Everybody
yeah,
was
Richard Jefferson was there. I saw
there.
that.
Swish was there. Everybody was there.
I didn't see
But,
Kyrie.
Nah, Kyrie's got a lot going on. He probably,
Yeah,
but-
I loved how all of the like trade rumors, and then all of a sudden
it
he'll
was
like,
all
I'm
BS.
I'm gonna opt in.
Yeah,
And
I
unfortunately-
said that the whole time. I'm like, he ain't going to LA.
Yeah.
This is all negotiation.
Well, I knew he wasn't going to. I thought if he did go to LA, it would be the Clippers, but now
I thought the Clippers could be a possibility, but I didn't think
Right.
that was. I always thought he was staying in Brooklyn this year. Now next summer, well, we'll see next summer. Next summer's trade, she's looking pretty good. You have a lot of big names, but
yeah, I don't see LeBron going anywhere else. I mean, LeBron would have everything he wants. You know, he's got a good center. He wouldn't have to like defend so hard because Jared Allen's a monster.
and they're young too.
Yeah, they're young. They're hungry. Darius Garland, star point guard, doesn't have to worry about that. You know, the
Evan
offense
Mobley could be an all-star next year.
Who?
I think Evan.
Oh,
Mobley
Evan.
he could have an all-star year next year. It doesn't mean he makes it, but he'll have all-star caliber year.
Yeah. I keep seeing videos. He's just been putting in constant work in the off season, and I think that's awesome. Like I love Evan Mobley. I love that pick.
I think that was. I don't know how he went third. To be honest with you,
Right. He was a pretty. That was a pretty stacked draft, though. Him, Scotty Barnes, Josh
Cade
Giddey.
Cunningham,
Yeah, Cade
Jalen
Cunningham.
Green.
I wasn't as high on Cade Cunningham as everybody else was. I'll be honest.
I liked him. I thought Evan was just because he's 7 foot tall. This the skill set with 7 feet tall. I'm like, I don't know how the hell you guard that. And I like Jalen Green too. I really like Jalen Green when he came out. I like the way he could score and his explosiveness. But
then he got sent to the Rockets.
Yeah, the Rockets look nice now. I think they got the best player to draft last week, Jabari Smith.
I thought they did too. He didn't look happy. Did you see his face? He was like,
I'd rather go to Houston though with Jalen than I would Orlando.
Well,
at least for me,
all the good players in Orlando never stay in Orlando.
Right. I think in Houston it could work with him and Jalen. Nice little 1-2 punch. I like that a lot better. But
and that's sad about Orlando because they used to be like a pretty solid franchise. Yeah.
Yeah, we know because we used to go against them in the playoffs when LeBron's first go around.
Yeah, when Dwight Howard was like
you had Dwight Howard, you had Jameer Nelson, Hedo Turkoglu, Michael Petras, Rashard Lewis. They had a nice team. Jason Richardson, a little older. He was playing solid minutes for him.
Right.
Yeah,
that was a solid team. Didn't they go to the finals and lose? Right to the
Spurs?
they
got swept by the Lakers.
Or Lakers.
That was a bad year. Oh no, have you seen that Lakers team roster? It wasn't. They had good players, but it wasn't.
It wasn't great. It was what Kobe.
It was Kobe, Pau Gasol, Lamar Odom, and Derek Fisher. And then after that, I think who they have. They had the Sasha Vujacic. They had him. I can't remember. I don't even remember the rest of the names. I can't remember.
Right. Do you think we extend Colin? I mean, obviously we offered him a deal, but do you think he accepts it or he asks for a trade?
Because his agent's Rich Paul, this could drag out all the way to August.
Do you think?
It could. I don't think it will. I think he's not going to sign right away unless they give him the offer he wants. If they give him the money he wants, oh yeah, he'll still take it because he's comfortable here. But
I don't think we're going to. I think we're saving money for Darius. You know,
they're definitely extending Darius for sure. That's happening pretty soon. They're extending him. You just paid Jared Allen 25, but they're keeping up. They want that cap open, and I think we all know why. But they're doing it for a reason. And so I'm not here. I'm not mad at them. I'd do it too, because you're only one piece away, really. If you look at it,
I mean,
only one piece away.
If you go to the Cavs, you finish your career there. Because Bronny, like, he wants to play a year with his son, and Bronny more than likely is going to be like a mid-second round pick at this point.
I don't know. He dropped the other day. I mean, I don't think I'm not really in the rankings, but he did.
He dropped like from 39 to 60.
60, yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel bad for the kid. I think that's a lot of pressure on him. Everybody expects him to make it now and be great.
Well, yeah, I think he's good enough to play in the league, but I think he's more like an Ish Smith kind of guy. Like, he's going to give you some solid minutes, but he's not going to be his dad. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, like to see him just be him, but
yeah, but everybody's going to expect that out of him. You know what I mean?
I feel like
just cuts.
That's a lot. Doesn't matter who you are. I don't care. Even if you're, you grew up around this type of because of who your dad is, you know how to handle. But man, when you put that pressure on somebody, like you got to go to the NBA. That's a lot to ask. That's like, I don't know. I mean, I haven't watched him play this. I've watched his other son, Bryce.
Bryce is good.
That kid is unbelievable. For a freshman, he was really good. That kid's going to be something when he's a senior, I think.
Right.
That kid's, I can watch him play all day.
When's Bronny eligible? Not this year, but next for the draft, or is it 2024?
What's next year? 23. He'll have to go to 1 year of college. So, 2024.
Okay.
So, but I don't know if he goes to college or he goes G League. I don't know which way he's going to go. There's a lot of rumors about him going to Duke, but because Coach K is out of there now, it looks like Kentucky could be the choice. I don't know, which makes sense. I mean, because if his dad's back in Cleveland, he's only 4 hours away. That's not you're right there. Or just go to Ohio State. But I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
it's a conundrum.
I don't know. Just even if they do extend Colin, doesn't mean they don't trade him down the road. As long as they keep their flexibility available, that's all they care about.
I really think it depends how good Ojai is too, and where they think they can fit him in. Because like you got your centers, Jared Allen, point guard Darius Garland. Shooting guard is up for grabs more or less. Power forward Evan Mobley, and then small forward is sort of kind of up for grabs.
Right now it's Lauri Markkanen.
Yeah, Lauri Markkanen,
because you're playing the bigger lineup, which I'm cool with. But
Lauri Markkanen. Maybe you could throw Karis LeVert in there. Maybe if
I'd like to see Okoro become more of the three. I mean, he's only 6'6", which is fine, but because he's the better defender.
He hasn't blossomed as much as we wanted him to. I mean, when we drafted him 3 years ago now, 2
years ago, took him 5th, and November 2020 the draft. It was the COVID draft.
Yeah, so
he's a good defender. I think his offense is still. Now he does do some things. He's a great cutter. He's a great. He does when he sets. He hits his shots here and there. He can dunk. He's great in transition, pushing the ball.
Yeah, he's improved his three ball a lot, but I just think the scoring isn't enough for him to be like a 2.
Well, I think a lot of it too is just the opportunity. I don't know how many shot attempts he gets a game, but that's a lot. He's surrounded by a lot of good, talented guys. They're going to get more shot attempts. Darius is going to get the bulk of it. Evan's getting the bulk of it.
If we trade Colin and then Isaac becomes a 6-man and Ochai becomes a guard, like the shooting guard, main 2, I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't be upset to keeping
it might
Isaac.
be O'Shea and Levert out there. That'd be your wings with Evan, Darius, and Jared.
That wouldn't be terrible, but
not
like
bad. You got somebody you get the ball to go 1-on-1 and Levert. Darius can go 1-on-1, then you got a shooter and you got 2 bigs. It's not bad.
But I don't know if we're keeping Karras because
no, you have Laurie Markkinen. That's right.
Because Karras, I don't know if we keep him. He wants to stay. He loves Cleveland.
Well, he's going to be here next year. I don't know. Yeah, how are they going to extend him? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. It really depends. And
I know they're interested in T.J. Warren. They like him.
T.J. Warren? Really?
Yeah, they like Warren, and they like.
Be upset.
There was another name I read. Another 3. They were both 3s, small forwards. T.J. Warren, I won't be mad at that.
I won't be upset. I like his game. Who's he play for now? I know he played for like the Pacers for a minute.
He's with the Pacers.
He's still with the Pacers?
I think he's coming off the Pacers books. Yeah, he was either the Pacers or somewhere. I can't remember when. Maybe or did he get traded to Sacramento?
We are picking their corpse. I love that. I love that. That's the team. Like each Cleveland team has one team. They're like, we're just going to take a bunch of stuff from you.
Well, it's crazy too. What's crazy too is
take the Texans, everything the Texans have.
They trade Rubio, and now Rubio might be coming back. It's like
right. I mean, Rubio's a professional. He knew what was up. He's like, oh, I'm injured. I get it.
But I'll bring him back. Sure.
Come on, why not?
Played well.
I like Rubio.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bring Rondo back.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen with Rondo. I like Rondo as a vet, just to have in the locker room. But
Rubio is a vet that does the same thing, but can also give you good minutes.
Yeah,
Rondo will sometimes give you a good game, but like he's to the point where in his career when he's too inconsistent. You know.
Yeah.
I think Ricky Rubio, you'll at least get like 10 points out of him, even on like a meh night. You know what I mean?
I'll give you a nice solid 10 and 8.
Yeah.
He can do that easy, but that's what you want. And but yeah, I guess that. And what else? Oh, Deshaun Watson hearing's going on.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's going to be 6 to 8 games, like we said all along.
All along. And there are people still saying, like, well, no, because Roger Goodell can, like, appeal that and make it a year. And I'm like, yeah, that'll be great PR. That's a great idea. The jointly appointed judge from the PA and the NFL comes in her first big case ever.
This is what it was. Yeah, this is what it was.
He's not going to appeal that shit. Yeah, it's all a PR move. The NFL just wants to seem like they've wanted a year this whole time. So when he ends up getting a lesser of a suspension, they can be like, well, our hands are tied.
Right,
that's the third party. You know, that's the third party that said 6 to 8 games. We're not going to step on her toes because that would be wrong. Well, but we wanted a year.
It's an open battle right now between the players and the owners. That's what's unfolding in front of you. And
that too.
This is just the first incident. This is,
and I'm sure,
a war coming up with the players and the owners.
Right. And I'm sure Roger Goodell has gotten calls from the owners because Jeffrey Kessler, who's like one of the best lawyers for the Players Association, I think he is the best, period, was like, here, if you guys give him an unprecedented suspension, I'm going to bring up the owners. I'm going to bring up Jerry Jones, Dan Snyder, Robert Kraft. I'm sure those guys have been making calls to Goodell. You know, I might have said that before. I'm not sure. But like, if I was Jerry Jones, especially Jerry Jones, you know, he has probably, as far as an owner goes, as much as I hate to say it, because I'm not a fan of the Cowboys in any way, shape, or form, I actually hate the Cowboys. And they're not even in the AFC. We only play them like once every 3 years or something crazy. But, you know, America's team, they have the largest, like it's the most valuable organization as far as money and capital. So Jerry Jones, out of all the owners, probably has the most say in what happens in the NFL. Outside of like the actual like board members, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he's probably making calls being like, hey, Raj, you know, settle it quick.
Right, you better. Yeah, they want to move this.
I don't want to go to court.
Yeah. Nah. Well, I mean, I think it's like we always said, 6 to 8 game.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be probably. I
think
the players.
6.
I think 6 too. I think the players are going to get it down to 6, which is actually if you're the Browns, you want 6 games because when you look at the first 6 games, like we pointed out that they can go
Very
4-2
winnable.
in that.
Very winnable.
Once you get the game 7 though, game 8, you got Baltimore and you got Cincinnati. So
right. Well, again, I'm not going to give Cincinnati any respect as a Browns fan until Joe Burrow beats my team.
I'll give them more respect, and I think they'll be better in Pittsburgh this year.
Oh, I mean, they were better than Pittsburgh last year.
Well,
I'm just saying.
I hear a lot of talk.
They don't beat us. They haven't beat us. Joe Burrow's never beat the Browns, ever.
I got to point this out, though. I've heard a lot of talk still. People are still picking Pittsburgh over the Browns this year.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, you're talking about our quarterback and what we might not have for 6 years.
You're rocking with Magic Mitch and Kenny Pickett. His hands are smaller than mine. I got actually decently sized hands. But
you might just have a down year. Is that okay? I mean, you might have one down. I think they're going to be rebuilding for maybe a year or two.
But here's the thing that I don't get, right? Pittsburgh is said to be this well-run organization. And, they're very pretty. Their defense is great. It's always
great defensively.
Mike Tomlin is
great coach.
Yeah. But, they haven't won a playoff game in 11 years. No. Did you know that?
When they had the killer bees that couldn't get over the hump.
Yeah. Yeah, and and they had that championship roster with, Ben when he was still in his prime, Antonio Brown, who would have been a future Hall of Famer if it wasn't for his. And Le'Veon Bell.
You had Juju as a rookie deal for a period too.
Yeah, and Le'Veon Bell at that time was probably one of the best runners of football, and they couldn't get over who beat them. It was Blake Bortles.
Yeah, and they can never beat New England ever.
No, and
when they saw Tom Brady, it was like kryptonite. It was a wrap.
Oh yeah,
you already know who's going to win the game. They get up by 2 touchdowns, or sometimes 3. They'll come all the way back, win the game.
And here's the other thing: you pick Kenny Pickett as a late first-round pick.
I'm not mad at the pick, but he's not. I don't know. He's year 1. That's a lot to ask for.
I'm mad at the pick. I don't think there was any
Malik
first
Willis
round
was the best quarterback at the draft.
That's pure prospect. He has most upside. But when the analysts are saying, "Oh yeah, Pittsburgh picked a quarterback," I think it'll work out. He has the highest floor. When analysts are saying stuff like that, I don't know, brother. I don't think there was any first round talents at quarterback last year. I really don't. I think Kenny Pickett is going to fizzle out really quick.
Pickett's solid. He was solid. He had a great year last year. I liked his college tape last year a lot.
He did. But
Malik Willis had first round talent.
I agree.
Now, was he
very unpolished though?
Is it somebody you take in the first round? I don't know. But although I think he ended up in a good situation in Tennessee. I think that's perfect for him because it's more stable than where he probably would end up in some, team that's ready to fire everybody at the end of the year. You don't want to be in that.
They love their coach, Mike. Yeah,
they're solid. They got a culture. They got stability. That's a perfect situation for him. He can lead.
Still feels like a fever dream though that they were the 1 seed last year. That doesn't feel real.
Yeah, no, it's just it gets wacky sometimes, and then they lose.
Oh, they lost, and they sacked Joe Burrow 6 or 8 times or something crazy. They still won.
I just don't get it. They haven't won a playoff game in 11 years. But also, too, they've had some. Everybody talks about I see some people in the media the Browns got a lot of mess going on. They got a lot of noise. I'm thinking, well, when you listen to the guys in the locker room, they say everything's just fine. They're like, yeah, we know what's going on with Deshaun, but Deshaun's been pretty quiet.
Yeah, Deshaun's been quiet.
The locker room's pretty solid. This isn't 3 years ago with Freddie Kitchens and we traded for Odell. There was a lot of noise. There was a lot of chaos. It's complete opposite now. They have stability now. They have, I don't get it. To me, I'm just kind of I don't buy that.
I don't know if they're just angry that the Browns got him, and it's you can be upset. We've said this before, you and me both. You can be upset about Deshaun Watson. We're not arguing that.
Everybody's telling their own opinion.
But at least be fair, because half of the league was interested in some way, shape, or form in Deshaun Watson. 6 teams actually gave or offered a trade package to Houston.
The Carolina Panthers were going to let him pick their next head coach.
Yeah.
Or was it the Panthers or was it
the Saints?
Was it somebody's? No, because the Panthers have Matt Rule.
But like 3 out of 4 teams in the NFC South wanted him. One team offered a trade package and extended it. And the only reason the Texans said no was because it was within the division. Like, so I think, just putting on my thinking cap, probably Indianapolis, which is
they were interested.
But
Seattle
they offered,
had interest.
Yeah, Seattle offered a trade package, but he didn't want to go to Seattle because of Pete Carroll. He doesn't like Pete Carroll. And then we offered it, and he wanted to come to Cleveland. And I don't know.
And money talks. I mean, here they gave him.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's all. I think the owners, some of these owners are just pissed.
Maybe, but I don't know.
That happens a lot. When they get these owners, they have the people in the media. When they get pissed about something, they let it be known, not through them, but through little strings attached in the media.
But then the Falcons came out and they were like, the story came out that Arthur Smith had asked Deshaun, they're like, hey, why didn't you like call us back? We would have matched that. But he knew probably it would be an uphill battle in Atlanta, because what does Atlanta have outside of Kyle Pitts? I'm sorry, and that really good young corner, AJ Terrell. Yeah,
not a whole lot.
And then they were saying like, oh well, Jarvis Landry and Leonard Fournette were going to come and be a super team. I'm like, that doesn't make a super team. No, I love Jarvis. Jarvis did so much for us. He's,
a team that just has a couple good players and then a bunch of iffy guys. You're not sure on. That's not a team that wins.
Right. Leonard Fournette's not the Fournette from Jacksonville anymore.
His role is what he had in Tampa Bay. That's perfect for him. Right behind Ronald Jones, and you could just a couple carries here. That's perfect.
Good receiving back.
Yeah,
Deshaun probably just looked at our roster and was like, "Damn,
our roster's better than the Saints."
Oh, yeah, yes, yeah. I'd say now it is most certainly better than the Saints. I mean, there's arguments to be made about. I mean, our O-line is better.
Our running back room.
Running backs are better.
Our defensive end's better.
Our receivers, I don't know. I think the Saints have us on receivers.
Well, I mean, here you just acquired Amari Cooper. That helps.
It does help, and I'm really high on David Bell. I am too. And I'm excited to see Donovan Peoples-Jones in his new role.
Yeah, I like that. But you're good there. You got what was I gonna say? Your linebacker. You got a star linebacker. You got a star secondary.
Yeah.
But the key with the Browns is they're all young. They're all young, and a lot of them aren't on their contract or extensions yet. So you just load up the roster now.
But yeah, no, I'm excited. But I think our defense is going to be top 5 easily all day long. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see what Perrion Winfrey does his rookie year, because I think he's going to be like a really good interior pass rusher. Like I've said a million times, I wanted them to take him in the second. I don't know if Andrew Berry made a deal with the devil or something and he can see the future, but like I didn't think he would be available in the 4th. And
I was messaging somebody that night because there was a lot of talk about him leading up. About the Browns.
He was the Senior Bowl MVP.
I went watch the Senior Bowl and I'm like, damn, that dude's good. They could take this guy. I like it because his unique size and explosiveness.
Yeah.
I remember I was texting.
I really like Perrion Winfrey.
I was texting my uncle that night during the draft. And I said, I like David Bell too. And I'm like, David Bell and Winfrey. That's exactly what I texted. I said, David Bell and Perrion Winfrey are still there. We should take them both. And they got them both. I was like, Andrew Ray must have read my text message. Because
and
I like both those guys.
I knew we would get. I mocked David Bell. I mocked Alex Wright, believe it or not, from UAB. Now there's not a whole lot of tape on him, just because UAB is a relatively new football program. Well,
they didn't have a lot of tape on the TV that night.
Yeah, it didn't.
They didn't have a lot of tape on. I'm like, okay, can I see some highlights? And all the show was like a couple plays. I'm like,
well, he's all right. He's really big dude. Really fast, but he's a defensive end that can stop the run really well. That's what he was really, really good at. And he was really good at getting pressures. So like in the way he plays, like he's got a really explosive first step. And that's about like how he beats people, which is exactly what Jadeveon Clowney does. Like, if you watch Clowney and how he plays, There's not really a lot of bend in Clowney.
Right.
His handwork is good, but what he really beats you on is his explosive first step. By the time like that you hike the ball, he's already past you. That's why he's so good on the run, is because he'll just beat, that tackle and just get behind the line and just tackle him, He had a couple plays last year where he just tackled a running back as soon as he got the ball in his hands. And I love watching Clowney do
I love it. Yeah.
So I think
they're going to be really good defensively. They're going to be, I think once they get through that 6 to 8 games,
right.
and they get a couple games under their belt, I think you'll start to see what the Browns are supposed to be.
And I'm just so sick of this. I don't know if you are. I know I am, because I'm on Twitter. I don't know if you're on Twitter, but Brown's Twitter.
I can't. I'd freaking shoot my phone if I was.
Frickin' wasteland, bro. It's a wasteland Brown's Twitter can be. And I'm on there just because I like to stay informed. And if Baker gets traded or we find out the suspension, I want to know. But yeah, dude, all these people being like, well, Baker could play still. Baker could play. And I'm like, stop it. Stop.
And I never, that's
shut your mouth. And then because they keep saying it.
All that is picking up scrap from a non-story. That's all it is.
I know it's June. I know nobody has anything else to talk about.
They were saying that. Yeah. I whenever I heard that, Baker might come back. I'm like, you really think he's coming back after all that's been done? Why the hell would he come back? Why would he want to come back?
And that's the big thing too. Yeah. The Browns don't want him back.
They don't want him back. The fans have moved on for the most part. You have a brand new shiny quarterback in town.
Yeah,
he's the franchise.
3 brand new shiny quarterbacks.
Obviously, you got one megastar in town now.
And Jacoby Brissett, who's as backups go, he's pretty good.
He's solid backup. And then you got Josh Dobbs, who
they like him because he's smart. He won't make dumb mistakes.
Yeah, he went to the Manning camp and all that. But why would you bring that back in your locker room? I mean, the media and some of the media people are like, I think it'd be a good idea. No. These are people that never played the game. Not only did they not play the game, they never played any sport, because even at peewee level, you understand that's team chemistry. Right. Hell, I was on teams when I was growing up. We had guys that were kind of loose cannons. They didn't make it to the first week of the season. We'd ask them to leave the team.
Yeah.
This is too much.
And you can ask any of the players, they're like, oh, the players didn't hate Baker. The locker room was fine. It's like, yeah, the O-line's going to say that. The offense is going to say that.
We've heard some leaks coming out.
I mean, ask the defense.
We had some leaks coming out.
Yeah, I mean, JJ3 was even saying,
Well, you had guys from anonymous sources, which that means is an offensive player, saying, we all know why it didn't work out with Odell. He was referred to as that guy over there.
Yeah.
Because everything I was listening to Nick Chubb and Demetric Felton wrote a new podcast today on the Varsity
Nick
House.
Chubb?
Yeah.
What, did he just stare at him?
No, he was good too. I got to finish listening to it, but he was good. It was on the Varsity House, and they just had on JOK and Nick Regnuson.
Oh, that's no, I watched that podcast.
Yeah, the Nick Chubb one came out today with him and Felton, and they're sitting there and they were talking about what the hell they're saying. I can't remember. Oh, what were we saying? No, we said see, I lost my train of thought again.
Oh no, we were talking about the
Odell. Yeah. And on both of those podcasts, all 4 of those guys all said Odell was a great teammate. He was awesome to hang out with on and off the field. Off the field, he was a cool dude. He used to help us out, give us shoes all the time, have fun.
Yeah, the rookie said he never hazed rookies. He would always
never
be
hazed
helpful.
them. He'd always help them out. He was chill. And I'm like, no, I don't like that. He should. I think Odell even admitted it in an article recently. He didn't like the way it ended. He probably regrets the dad.
How it went down, yeah.
He regrets the video coming out, which he's right. You shouldn't have did that. But, I don't. I think you're seeing the truth start to unravel a little bit.
Yeah.
Just the guys just won't say it.
Yeah, Baker's allergic to receivers.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of things.
Couldn't see him. But
bringing that back in the locker room after what's been said and probably what a lot of guys think but don't say.
And the other argument that it should kill their point of view of the Baker Bros, whatever you want to call them. And here, I supported Baker when he was our quarterback. When he won that playoff game, I was throwing his flag.
I still wish him well.
I still wish him well, but
I don't hate the guy.
He was what some of these fans thought he was. And if he was this good and his ceiling was as high as these fans think, like Super Bowl caliber, at $18 million, which isn't a lot of money for a quarterback. If you think he can do all those things, why doesn't he have a home? And you can't say because, well, the owners are mad at the Browns. It's like, no, because those coaches, those head coaches, those GMs have their jobs on the line every single year. If they don't produce, if they don't win, they get fired. If Carolina and like Matt Rule thought that Baker was worth it, you know, and that GM thought it was worth it, he would fucking, oh, pardon my French, he would give us he would give us a third and you know, just call it a day to save his job. And same thing with Seattle. Like Pete Carroll's been on the hot seat. They just lost Russell Wilson.
Right.
And like, yeah, just give us the third. If he's what you think he is, why doesn't he have a home? We're still fighting this.
Is there more noise than there is production? There's been there has been. And he's had a couple his first year to second year, or excuse me, first year, third year, really good years. Third year was solid.
Yeah, that's the pitch we should be giving to teams. Like, don't worry, you're going to fall on a good year now. You get good Baker, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Next year, the year after is Mr. Hyde again. That's Baker's bad year. This year, he's going to be great.
But you know what's crazy though?
Good year, bad year, good year, bad year.
You know, speaking of the media, we'll close on this real quick. It drives me nuts when they'll bash a guy like Kyrie Irving nonstop, which that's a whole nother story. I don't know if you saw that yesterday with Kyrie and Stephen A. Kyrie's talking about his dad and his uncles are looking for Stephen A. Like, they're just pissed. They've had it. Because, and you know what?
Wow, someone's mad at Stephen A. Smith?
Stephen A. has taken it, in my opinion, Stephen A.'s taken it way too far with Kyrie. He's got way too personal. It almost seems like it's a personal hatred. Like,
I'm still mad he didn't go to the Knicks.
Oh, that, and then there's other reasons too, because he's, you know, he didn't do something that people wanted him to do, and had to sit out because of it. But, you know, that guy can't get a contract extension right now because of all that junk going on.
Right.
And it was out of his control too. He couldn't play because there was something out of his control. And that was his own choice to do that. But they'll bash him, but we'll sit here and talk about, oh, well, Baker should go back to his former team. They should bring him. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. You'll sit there like just the hypocrisy of the media all around. These are the people that are up here saying this like crazy things about bring the guy back to the locker room after all that's happened.
Right.
And I'm just like, I couldn't find my remote fast enough.
Yeah, it's so dumb. I hate it. I know there's nothing to talk about. And here's the thing that reporters have found out a long time ago. Browns fans will react. We will, you know, talk to reporters. Like, we'll bash them. We'll like respond to those articles. They learned that a long time ago. Browns fans will react. And that's why I think they do it, is because, like, you know, they get the clicks. They get the comments, you know, even if it's hate.
They'll sit up there and you're trying to get it's almost like some of these people, they're like, yeah, they should bring him back. Like, almost like they're pushing it. They'll do that. But when it comes to other things like Kyrie Irving, well, don't pay him. He don't deserve his money. I'm like, why? But
right.
It's just so the hypocrisy. And that may not make sense, but that's just what I see. You know,
no, I get what you're saying. Exactly.
It's just garbage. It's just on there every day. It's like, I don't even watch it. I don't even look at it. It's just,
right.
As soon as I see some stupid stuff like that, it's just like, it's like I see with the new draft pick. They're like, oh, he has no upside. And I'm like, he's a rookie. Like, it's just all these guys, these analytic guys that never played sports, that ever played basketball. So they're trying to get involved. And I'm not saying analytics are bad. I think it's just stats. That's all it is.
Right.
You know, it's information. You use it, yeah, but you're not solely based around that. And a lot of these, that's what it is. You have these guys that never played the game. They just try to get involved and make it look fancy, and doesn't win championships. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So, but
all right, my blood pressure has been heightened from talking about the reporters at Baker, bro.
Yeah, me too.
So with that, I want to thank you again, Joseph, for having me on as always.
No, I appreciate you, man. I really do appreciate you coming on. You know, you don't have to. You volunteer your time to do this, and but I know you said a lot of great points that are helping people. I know people are listening, and so. But yeah, whenever you get your podcast going too. So
yeah, I will. I'll let you know.
I was going to text you to tell you this. I was going to tell you here because there's this new app called AMP. I don't know if you heard of it.
I have not.
It's called AMP, AMP. It's like a little yellow icon, in the App Store. It's brand new. It just came out. And what it is it's perfect for you because I know you love music. You could sit and talk all day. It's like a you host your own like radio show basically live.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And you can play whatever. They have all kinds of they have a lot of music you would want on there. They got every music on there. What I'm hearing, you can go on there. You can play any song you want, and you could sit there and talk about a story or just BS about something. Or, what? It's like a live radio show, and it's brand new. It's called AMP. But
I'm gonna check that out. That sounds
you'd
sick.
be good. You would be great at that because I know you love music, and then you could sit there play your songs, and then you could sit there give like commentary, and you could do it live. It's called AMP. It's like the new radio.
I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, check it out. So stay tuned. You might see Mike on AMP.
A Mike on AMP.
I might start doing it. I thought about trying it out a couple times just to have some fun, just see whatever.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, it's a new thing called AMP. I want to try it out. But yeah, I want to see you try that out. You'd be great at that.
I'm gonna give it a whirl. I will.
Yeah, you seem like a great radio host. Like,
yeah,
you go up there and just kill it.
I hope. Like, I've thought about radio before. That would be cool. But like, Howard Stern kind of radio. Just start yelling at random things. The only radio host who's still relevant.
Yeah, pretty much. Everything's gone to just TV and streaming now. So
yeah, pretty much.
YouTube,
Jim Donovan is still great, but
I love Jim Donovan.
When he cries, I'm gonna cry like a bitch. I already know it.
And now we're gonna segue to the Tony Evans video. But yeah.
All right. Well,
so,
I will.
I'll see actually, I'm at the close out here with the Tony Evans video after all the stuff we said.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Yeah, well, that's all good. That's why it's called The Real. Mike and I we're raw. We're still growing like everybody else out there. So sometimes we say things we probably shouldn't say, but it is.
Like all of us.
Yeah, he's still working on us. So
every day. Every day.
That's why it's called The Real. But all right, brother. I appreciate you coming on again, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time, brother. Later.
All right, later. All right, appreciate Mike for coming by. That was a long conversation there. We went all over the place, and but yeah, like I said, before we get out of here, I want to play this quick video real quick. If you guys are still hanging in there, this is a great cap to what was the main point of our conversation today about resistance and allowing yourself to be free. And this video right here, I think, is great for that last part, allowing yourself to be free. And yes, you guessed it, it's my man Tony Evans, like always. And I'm gonna finish out with this.
Was the church I was looking for. You see, a lot of us are lost because we're listening to ourselves, listening to our friends, listening to the media, listening to the environment, and not listening to the word. And if we would listen to the author of the word, we would save a lot of time and distraction. And then he says, and then you will prove what is that good and acceptable, perfect will of God. I just wrote a book called Destiny. Let God use you like he made you. Every believer has a destiny, a divine design, a purpose for leaving you here and not rapturing you the moment after you were converted. You have a destiny. He says, and you will prove. Prove. That means see worked out. You won't have to try to make it work out, force it to work out, drive it to work out. You will see it working itself out. You will prove, you will demonstrate it to be so. In other words, we just took the pressure off of the rest of your life. Because God says, I will take over. When a woman gets pregnant and when she delivers, her body knows it's time for the milk to flow. She doesn't have to make the milk flow, force the milk to flow, beg the milk to flow. The body has been so constructed that when a new life has been put inside of it, it's time for the milk to flow. It's built into the system. God's moving you the way he wants you to go. Guess it's built into the system. The system has it built in. He just wants the freedom to let it flow. But he can't let it flow until he sees something growing inside of you. He can't let it flow until he sees that the new life that God wants to demonstrate in you is able to flow through you and flow out of you so that you can prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. And once you see God flowing, because that's how the will of God is, you flow in it. Once you start flowing. See, after you've been to the Ritz, it's hard to be satisfied with Motel 6. It ain't the same. But once you begin flowing, because God is producing it naturally in your movement, because you use the password. You have surrendered, all of you to all of him. You said no to this world order. You have adopted his way of thinking, even if it has to trump the way you feel, the way you've been raised, what your friends think, what your mom and daddy said. But his thoughts overrule your thoughts, and any influences that overrule his thoughts in your life. He says, then I'm free to flow. The Holy Spirit is free to reveal himself, to lead us in his way, in his word, in his will. A little girl came to her father one day and said, Daddy, give me a nickel. She'd been a good girl. He said, Mom, boy, yeah, I can do that. He didn't have any change. He said, you know, you've really been a good girl. You know what? I'm going to give you $1. So he reached into his wallet. But he didn't have $1. All he had was a $20 bill. He says, you have really been a good girl. Here's a $20 bill, darling. She said, but Daddy, I want a nickel. He said, no, you don't understand. There's a whole bunch of nickels. It's a $20 bill. She said, Daddy, why won't you give me a nickel? But she didn't understand. He says, no, you don't understand. These many nickels make $1. These many dollars make $20. It's a $20 bill. Here, it's 20. She began to cry and whine and throw a temper tantrum. I want a nickel. I want a nickel. Why won't you give me a nickel? But that's exactly what many of God's children do, settle for a nickel when he offers us a $20 bill. He says, here's my will, and I'm willing to flow with you. But the access to my will comes through the password, and the password is surrender. May God enable those of us who've been saved to go to the altar and surrender so that he is free to flow. Father, may the words of our mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you in this house this day. And all God's people said,
Amen. And I love what he said there. Well, a lot of times we settle for a nickel instead of the $20 bill God gives us. And yeah, can't get more. I love that there. Settle for the nickel instead of the $20 bill. And so that's what we're going to end with today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the message today. I know there's a lot to unpack here. Hope we gave you something today you can leave with. And want to thank Dennis again for the video yesterday. Hope you guys check it out. I'll link that below. I'll put it in the bio. Yeah, if you guys got any questions ever about anything, anxiety, or feel free to hit me up online at Joseph Lamtman anywhere, Facebook or Instagram. I'm even on Snapchat too. But anything, feel free. Or maybe you want to maybe have talked to you in a while, whatever it is. Feel free to ask anything, guys. And just taking that first step of awareness and like I said, just allow yourself to be free, allowing yourself to grow and be who you want to be. No more excuses. Don't think about excuses. Don't try to focus on what excuse you can keep giving yourself. You're just holding yourself back. You're letting yourself down. But look how far you've come too. Look at all the things you've done. For me, it was like I talked about earlier, the one incident. I'm out on a bike at 12:30 in the morning, 2 feet of snow, and it's -20 out in the middle of January. I'm sitting there. What the hell am I doing out here? But I look back at those nights. I had a lot of those incidents like that. A lot of those long days I went through, mentally, physically, just emotionally, spiritually, everything drained me to the max. Days and weeks and months for periods. I look back at all I've went through. I can do it. Here I am now, and so that's the mindset you got to have. If I can do it, you can do it. And so, start today. Start right now. And click on that link below in that video link of my video on Dennis's channel, and that'll help guide you to where you need to go with, if you're starting with anxiety or you have some stress, you need some guidance, follow that video. It's a good starting point. Share it with people that need it. Or maybe you're somebody who spiritually, maybe both together. You're not sure if you want, you're not all in on God. You know about God. You believe in God, but you haven't committed yourself to God. There's a lot of resources. Go to Tony Evans' page. There's tons of resources. You can contact me. I'll help you. I'll gladly. Don't be afraid to speak out, guys. Don't be afraid to go against the grain and be who you truly want to be, even if it's deemed as different. And so, because at the end of the day, nobody can make you truly happy except you. And so, it starts from within. And so, that's what I'll leave you guys with today. That's my message for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We had a little fun there too. Thanks to Mike for coming on again, like always. And yeah, man, that's all I got today. I'm about to go hop on this bike and enjoy this nice weather. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'm out of here. Gone.